If you grew up in alcoholism or addiction and you're finally out of that environment, I'm very happy to be out of it, I'm sure, and even in a stable relationship, but you find that you're either sabotaging it, picking fights to create the chaos that you're familiar with, or running away from any normal conflict because it scares you and you don't feel safe. It's not your fault. Your brain has been trained by the trauma. My name is Sally New, and I work with Christian women to help them overcome the scars of growing up in alcoholism or addiction, or really any kind of traumatic childhood. When I first met my husband, I was really happy to find out that he was stable, he was very kind, and he was even pretty cute. In fact, he was really cute. He still is. And there was no explanation for why I started to immediately, after we got married, blow up the whole thing by either picking fights with him where there really was nothing to argue about because I wanted to create the chaos that I was familiar with, or if we had any normal kind of conflict, which is just part of life when you first get married and even later on, I just ran away from it because it didn't feel safe. And I didn't have anywhere to go. We lived in a small southern town and I didn't know anybody really. And where was I gonna go? I wasn't gonna go to the bars like my parents did. So I would just drive around for a little while and then I would go home to a very confused husband who had really no idea what was going on. And how would he? Because I didn't even really understand what was going on. Now, fortunately for me, I landed with a really good spiritual director, pretty much right off the bat. And she walked me through a lot because she recognized the effect that my childhood had on me, on my behavior, on my view of the Lord, on really just about everything about me. So she walked me through healing of memories. She walked me through trusting in the Lord and learning to lean on Scripture. She walked me through letting the past go. She walked me through forgiveness. She walked me through just about everything that I went through in the first 15 years of my marriage. And another thing about her was that she had no problem at all telling me if I was wrong and telling me that a certain behavior wasn't appropriate. And it was really okay because I trusted her and I wanted to do the right thing. And I had, in some cases, not really any idea what the right thing was because of how I had grown up. Now, one thing I did learn to do during that period of time as well was just to stop and remind myself, okay, I'm not in my childhood home. I'm not under the care of my parents. I'm with my husband. There's nothing wrong. You're not in any danger. And a verse that helped me a lot during that time was Psalm 46:10. Be still and know that I am God. The first thing that is really important in healing from that kind of trauma is finding someone to walk beside you and help you. My name is Sally New, and I work with Christian women to help them overcome the scars of childhood left by alcoholism, addiction, narcissism, other kinds of abuse, really any kind of childhood trauma. And it's possible. I promise you, it's possible. Everything is possible with God. Now, that's the first step. Step number 2 is forgiveness. Forgiveness gets kind of a bad rap because it's really misunderstood. But we know that we even pray in the Lord's Prayer, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, or forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. So the Lord is pretty upfront with the fact that we need to forgive. But for some reason, we think that forgiving means just like letting it go, or saying, it wasn't that big of a deal. Actually, it means anything but. In fact, a part of forgiveness is really acknowledging that a hurt and injustice was done and recognizing it, but making a decision to trust God to help you forgive. And it's an act of the will. That's all it is. If you don't feel good about it, don't even worry, because healing of emotions takes time. You're very likely not going to, quote unquote, feel good about forgiving a grave injustice that was done to you. But what you want to do is learn to have it not hold you back, because forgiveness has been likened to drinking poison and hoping someone else dies. Now, we don't want anybody to die, but you get the picture. You know what I'm saying. So you don't have to feel good about it. And you don't have to trust the person again. Now, for me, that didn't really apply because I wasn't going to live in my parents' home again. So I didn't have to worry about trusting them or not trusting them. They weren't liars or anything like that. So that wasn't an issue for me. I didn't even have to be in a relationship with them if I chose not to. That's not what forgiveness means either. You can forgive someone and never talk to them again, or never see them again. Or you can forgive someone who's already died. So for me, I did choose to be in a relationship with my parents. I loved them very much. They were both really bad alcoholics. My mom died of alcoholism many years later. My dad was sober for 20 years, which was really nice. And then he relapsed for 5, which was really miserable. And then he was sober almost 10 before he died. So he died sober, but he struggled. And even some of those patterns of behavior carried through somewhat into his sobriety. And I learned to negotiate them because that's what I chose to do. The third thing that I did that's really important to do was I joined a support group. For me, it was Al-Anon. I found a lot of help and support in Al-Anon. And the verse that comes to mind for those years is Proverbs 17:7, a friend loves at all times. I found people in Al-Anon who loved me, who let me learn at my own pace, who were willing to share with me, allow me to learn from them, but didn't demand anything from me. Just let me and the Lord work it out. And those years were so important and so valuable to me. And that fellowship strengthened me, and I learned so much. Now, Al-Anon isn't for everybody. It might not be for you. There's lots of different groups that you can join. CODA, Codependence Anonymous, Adult Children of Alcoholics. If you need the help of AA or NA or a group like that, those groups are available. There is Celebrate Recovery, which is a Christian 12-step program, a wonderful program. I've never been to a meeting, but I know that they are very thorough, very solid organization. So there's lots of support out there, and that is so helpful to the healing journey. And one of the most important things you need to know is that you really don't have to do it alone. Download my free prayer guide and just spend some time meditating on the verses and the steps that I've included there, because I think it will help you a lot. And you can reach out to me. I'd love to schedule a clarity call with you. I know God has called me to this work. I know this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I have over 70 years in, so I've got some experience, and I have been through a lot of the dynamics. I understand most of them. So I'd love it if you would reach out to me and leave me a comment. I'd be glad to pray for you. Leave me your prayer intentions in the comment. And if you're worried about someone who is currently struggling with alcoholism and addiction, check out the video that's popping up on your screen right now. And I will see you in the next one. God bless, guys. Bye.